This is the last word, and I'm Maria Shakil. From the soil of Bihar, I'm telling the world that India will identify, track, and punish every terrorist and those behind them. With these words, Prime Minister Narendra Modi sent a powerful message to the global community, switching from Hindi to English to ensure it resonates around the world. Prime Minister's speech reflected the anger and fury of the 140 crore Indians. His words, much needed to assuage the sentiments of an angry nation, a nation that is mourning and is united in grief, but also the country which seeks retaliation and a strong response to those who orchestrated and carried out terror attack in Pahalgam. Let's first listen in to what the Prime Minister said.
140 करोड़ भारतीयों की इच्छा शक्ति अब आतंकी आकाओं की कमर तोड़ कर रहेगी. Today, from the soil of Bihar, I say to the whole world, India will identify, track, and punish every terrorist and their backers. We will pursue them to the ends of the earth. India's spirit will never be broken by terrorism. Terrorism will not go unpunished. Every effort will be made to ensure that justice is done. The entire nation is firm in this resolve. Everyone who believes in humanity is with us.
And joining me on the show, Lieutenant General Satish Dua is a former Chief Integrated Defence Staff. We have Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha, former Chief of Integrated Defence Staff and Commander-in-Chief of Western Naval Command. Vice Admiral Sinha, beginning with you, the Prime Minister says, and his switch particularly from Hindi to English has raised eyebrows. The warning was fierce. If you were to recall of what the Prime Minister said post-Uri and post-Pulwama, was the message different this time around?
Thank you, Maria, for getting me on your show. It's quite different this time because he has said that unko hum mitti mein mila denge. And not only those who have caused this terror, but people who are backing this terror. And we know who's backing this terror. It's a question of ideology, Maria. I've been saying this for quite some time, that you kill one terrorist, another terrorist will come up. It is ideological differences on which Pakistan separated. And that ideology cannot be broken by killing 1 or 2 or 10 persons. He's also said that you cannot imagine what is going to happen to you. So I would think that it is more serious and going to be more severe than what we have seen so far.
Sikri, former High Commissioner of India to Bangladesh, also joining us. Vice Admiral Sinha, let's, since you say that the action will be far more serious and you have essentially spoken about those words of the Prime Minister, let's rewind it for our viewers. He said, we will pursue them to the ends of the world. India's spirit will never be broken and terrorism will not go unpunished. Do you think that there is everything on the table? When we say that there has been Balakot strikes, there have been surgical strikes, what next can India do?
Well, let me just put it across in this manner. Every option is open. The diplomatic and economic sanctions, so to say, has already begun. The 5-6 actions which have been taken, which the Foreign Secretary announced, that should take its due course to act. But the military and intelligence action, Maria, there are so many things on table. That I would say that we should help the Pakistani state to balkanize itself into pieces. I think that time has come that we should not be saying as long as Punjab is with them, it will be problem. Punjab must be separated from all other three parts of Pakistan. That's the way I look at it.
Okay. Veena Sikri, how do you look at the Prime Minister's speech? Because I think it's a message going to the global community more than for people of India, because for the people of India, the message was in Hindi, but for the global community, he understood fully well that the world was watching India, the world is watching India, and India's response will not certainly stop at the diplomatic offensive, the announcements of which came in yesterday.
Yeah, well, I think first of all, we have to recognize that what happened in Pahalgam, the attack on innocent tourists, was an act of war. That was the starting point of the act of war. It's not a question of whether India is going to declare an act of war. In fact, somebody in Pakistan is saying that India's suspension of the Indus Waters Treaty is an act of war. The first act of war was the attack on the innocent tourists. Now we are responding to that act of war, and I think the first set of measures announced by Prime Minister Modi when he chaired the CCS yesterday was very strong and very effective. I think the decision to put the Indus Waters Treaty in abeyance until there's irrevocable evidence of Pakistan abjuring terrorism. This has sent shivers in Pakistan. Today, their Sensex crashed by 1,000 points. And there is a lot of uncertainty, a lot of analysis, an article in the Dawn that I saw today, which talks about the extreme uncertainty which has come into Pakistan, the future on agriculture, on availability of water, on timely availability of water, because all this is out of the window now. India doesn't have to do any reporting, neither of data flows, nor of timing of water supply, nor do we have to allow any Pakistani to come and inspect our projects or show the design to them. We are now on our own. We can use the water as we like. Yes, it may take a little time to build reservoirs or even to divert the water, which the huge pipes that we have to maybe to Jammu and other areas. But the uncertainty it has brought into Pakistan, this is gnawing them. This is eating at their very innards, as it were. I think the decision to expel the defense attaches, the Army, Air Force and Navy attaches is very significant because these are normally ISI representatives. And as ISI representatives, they've been responsible for the most egregious activities, talking to people here in India, inciting them against the government, doing all kinds of things. And now that they're not going to be there, it's going to be a very significant thing. But this is not all. This is the first set of measures. Combined with that, India has launched a huge diplomatic offensive. We have spoken to many people about many government representatives, the diplomats, about what is happening, explaining our point of view. And I think this is very important because we have to now explain ourselves and explain to the rest of the world why we are doing what we're doing. It's always Pakistan who's taken the initiative on this kind of diplomatic explanations. They've been doing it for the last, I would say, 75 years, where they, everywhere, everyone they talk to, it's always this. Kashmir, Kashmir, Kashmir. And we've been sort of, holding back on talking about Kashmir, saying, look, we are very sure of our position. And even after 2019, we spent a lot of effort explaining it to the world. But then again, we stepped back and did not, do. But this time, I think the diplomatic offensive is part of the every other offensive, whether it is water, any other, and this is significant because it is having a good impact. And the Pakistanis are so worried about the water that today they gave a press conference in Islamabad saying no, this is not true that they have put in abeyance the Indus Waters Treaty, because when they met our Chargé d'Affaires, they didn't mention about the IWT. So I read out the first sentence of Vikram Mishri's statement when he made at his press conference that we are putting in abeyance the Indus Water Treaty till Pakistan will. So
in fact, Pakistan, as you were speaking about it, implications as we have been discussing it, it relies heavily on the Indus River system. For irrigation, with about 80% of its cultivated land depend on these waters. The water security is completely dependent on this Indus water. But India is justified in its action, Lieutenant General Dua, because India says that it is not only morally incumbent at this moment, but it is also because the cross-border terrorism is continuing, India is exercising its sovereign right, and that's what is happening in this time.
You're right, Maria. But let's also remember that the Indus Water Treaty has withstood 4 wars and a number of high-profile terror attacks, but we have never held in abeyance, suspended or abrogated the Indus Water Treaty, because we know that it's going to pinch the common man also in Pakistan. But this time, I think enough was enough is the kind of feeling that we have in India. You see, when Uri terror attack took place, I was a corps commander there when we planned the surgical strike. The same very day, the defense minister landed up, and we launched a very shallow attack in multiple camps, training camp, terrorist camps, and killed terrorists and came back. When Pulwama happened, 40 CRPF Jawans were killed, and a deep precision airstrike was launched, and again at terrorist camps. But this time they have hit innocent tourists, and their intention is clear. You will recall that a couple of months ago, some Hamas leaders had come and met LET leaders. It was in the news. And just like the Hamas, to gain the center stage, conducted the 7 October attacks to sort of, again, feeling their issues getting marginalized in the world. I have been on their invitation. I went to Israel 2 months ago, and I've seen that site and the kibbutz where it took place. So that kind of carnage has been created willfully. And such operations where they were picking out Hindus, Hindu males, segregating them, killing them, and telling the women, telling the ladies, jaake Modi ko batao. They didn't say police ko batana ya army ko batana. They kept saying Modi ko batao. The idea is very simple. Coming on the heels of their Pakistan army chief's rant about Hindu, Muslim, and Muslims being a superior, and whatever else he said, and covert operations are always cleared at the highest level. So this kind of an operation that has been conducted, it has been conducted willfully. They know that this will happen. And now I would also go away from this topic a bit to say, we have to ensure that we don't create in the whole nation, as the bodies go back to different, as you see the visuals now, to different parts of the country, they don't manage to create a rift between the communities, between the religions, because then the terrorists would have achieved their aims. But getting back to the point, and the last sentence on this is, yes, this time our response has to be much bigger than Uri surgical strikes or the airstrike at Balakot. Why? Because they have killed innocent terrorists, innocent tourists from all over the world. They picked out by religion, and our response, which the defense minister said earlier, the prime minister has made it abundantly clear today in his statement, and he switches to English for the obvious reason, and he's telling the world we are going to do it. And what we are going to do is this: we are going to kill the terrorists, certainly, but we'll also hit at their backers. Backers means we know where the backers are. All the support that they get is from Pakistan, is from ISI, and I am sure there will be a big response, bigger than before. Like others said, like Veena also said, our diplomatic strike has already begun in a big way, and I'm sure you see what happens is that diplomatic and economic measures are always announced and then implemented. As far as military response is concerned, it will be implemented first and announced later. That's the way it works.
Okay. Vice Admiral Sinha, coming back to you, given that today was the day of briefings which happened by the Ministry of External Affairs to all the envoys, the P5 nations and some others, that India decided to brief them, providing them evidence also of what has been an act of terror started by Pakistan, backed by Pakistan. The larger question is that India so far, under Prime Minister Narendra Modi's regime, has managed to completely dehyphenate itself from Pakistan, has sent a message that Pakistan has turned rogue. But the question is that, can there be still any kind of, should it be declared a terror state? and no engagement whatsoever? And how much do you think other countries, particularly US, China, will be ready to back India?
Well, as far as declaring terror state is concerned, China will certainly not do it. US may, because for them it's easy to walk into what is called an agreement and then walk out of it very, very soon. So I would say that as long as we declare it a terror state, I'm sure there'll be many more who will follow. I cannot forecast as to who will and who will not. Russia, I suppose that they are, given their very close ties with India and China, may like to keep out of this whole thing. So I think this is more of a diplomatic nature. But I would say that the retribution this time, as all of us are saying, it will be stronger. There will be, I would think that there will be both a combination of covert and overt action, and we will have to wait for the time to see as to what does the polity and the senior leadership of armed forces and intelligence have got in mind. I'm sure that they are working round the clock, and something will happen sooner than later.
Vice Admiral Sinha, for the Prime Minister to say that this has to end once and for all, how do you actually achieve that?
Well, are you asking me, Maria?
Yes, Vice Admiral Sinha.
Yeah. You see, the point is that the action plan which is to be done by the intelligence and the armed forces, they're not supposed to be in public domain, and therefore I'll refrain from saying anything on that. But I can tell you the capability exists. They may be time consuming because the aims and intentions this time seem to be much bigger, because the Prime Minister has never made a statement like this and is not making statement for the sake of statement. He'll be answerable to the country, answerable to the parliament. And I would think that something very serious is being planned, and you will see it very soon. Okay. Military plans, I don't think it is right for any one of us to, discuss that on a forum like this.
Absolutely, sir. Let's not second guess what government will be doing, but the Prime Minister's warning is loud and clear. His message is loud and clear, and I think when he has communicated that there's zero tolerance to terrorism, he also said that terrorism will not go unpunished. He also went on to say that India's spirit will never be broken by terrorism. And there are multiple nations, Veena Sikri, that stand with India. It started with that call from President Trump. Then there was a letter that was written by Vladimir Putin. Multiple heads of states have spoken to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, have taken to Twitter to express their solidarity with India, and have also said that they stand with India in its fight against terrorism. So as far as global support is concerned, that stands with India, and that is the reason why that switch from Hindi to English, because Prime Minister Modi was addressing the global audience.
Yeah. Certainly, there was a message to the world. I mean, he was speaking in Bihar, but in Madhubani, and he spoke in Hindi, but this particular sentence was addressed to the world. And I think that, this call to declare Pakistan as a state sponsor of terror, this time it has come from America itself. There's a leading intellectual in America, Michael Rubin, who's at the American Enterprise Institute. He has made this call in an article that he's written today. And that he has made this call from there shows already some element of support from the American establishment on this subject. So I think this must be something that we have to pursue very clearly, because if we can get this done now, and once and for all, we all have the history of Osama bin Laden, you have David Headley Chase, you have the Abu Rana, who has now come back to India, which has been a great diplomatic victory for us. And all these things show that the time is right, because President Trump himself has declared himself strongly against any kind of terror. And he has said, I leave South Asia to India. He said, I leave Bangladesh to India, I leave South Asia to India. So we have to decide for ourselves what we would like to do. And certainly, I think a way to bring a long-term end to terrorism as the state sponsors of terrorism, sponsoring groups like Lashkar-e-Taiba or Jaish-e-Mohammed, this has to come to an end. Otherwise, these threats will come up again and again. It will be quiet maybe for a year or so. Again, something will happen. So we are thinking, it seems to me, in terms of a long-term, strong, irrevocable end to this situation. And I think that one of the aspects would be US declaring Pakistan a state sponsor of terror. The other could be, you could have an embargo of Karachi port. There's so many other aspects that are being talked about. Trade issues are there. We know that Pakistan has already declared Indian aircraft as not allowed to fly over their space. We can declare Pakistan aircraft.
Ambassador Sikri, just a moment, because even as we speak, there is a long list of leaders who have called the Prime Minister today. Benjamin Netanyahu calling Prime Minister. Jordan King has called Prime Minister. Prime Minister of Japan has called Prime Minister Modi. President Emmanuel Macron of France has spoken to Prime Minister Modi. Meloni, the Prime Minister of Italy, has spoken to Prime Minister Modi. So these calls are significant because Prime Minister's resolve was displayed in Bihar today. And I think that is a huge thing when you receive these calls, which means it is about total isolation of Pakistan.
No, absolutely. Not only is the dehyphenation of India and Pakistan complete, but the isolation of Pakistan within this whole setup as literally is being seen, Pakistan is being seen as a state sponsor of terror. So I think we should press this thing home. What about, on the FATF, getting them into the blacklist? There's so many aspects of the international community support that we can get. We know that on the FATF also, there have been strong expressions of support from many people, even in the committee. So I think that this aspect of getting Pakistan in the blacklist on the FATF, on getting Pakistan as a state sponsor of terror, and also, determining about the use of whether a country which is state sponsor of terror, can they be allowed to have nuclear weapons? A big question comes up. So what happens to their nuclear weapons? So I think there is a very strong line of thinking on many different directions.
Okay.
And whether some of this happens or all of it happens,
all right,
it will be seen in the coming weeks.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for joining us. Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha, Lieutenant General Satish Dua, and Veena Sikri. Appreciate your time. Let me bring in Harshvardhan Shringla now, former Foreign Secretary. Ambassador Shringla, really appreciate your time. I mean, Prime Minister's message has been strong and stern, particularly what he said with regards to terrorism, that terrorism will not go unpunished. This act will not go unpunished. How do you look at the overall messaging that has come in from the Prime Minister? And of course, he was reflecting the sentiments of the entire country at this juncture.
Well, I think it's very clear that terrorism as an instrument of policy will no longer be tolerated. What Prime Minister Modi is saying is that if you inflict terrorism on us and our citizens, you will have to pay, in kind. I mean, in other words, you will have to meet the full force of law and justice from India. And I think that has been the practice in the last 10 years. Pulwama, we saw a strong response. We have already taken certain steps at the diplomatic level. And I'm sure there will be an appropriate and considered response as and when it is, timely from the government side to, I would say, lethally address the issue of terrorism and those who support terrorism and the infrastructure around them.
How does the Prime Minister's speech reflect the stance of global cooperation against terrorism? Because even as we speak, there have been a long list of world leaders who have called up Prime Minister Narendra Modi, from the French to the Italians to the Japanese to Jordanian king. All of them have expressed concerns and also expressed solidarity with India. Do you think, Prime Minister, India is at that juncture where they have sent a message that India stands firm in its resolve in this revenge?
Absolutely. I think we have maintained a very responsible posture in the global stage. We have always advocated for peace through dialogue and diplomacy. But at the same time, we've made it clear that any attempts, which infringe on our sovereignty and territorial integrity, including acts of terrorism, will be met very, very harshly. And that has been seen in a number of instances, not only in the case of Pakistan, but even in the case of China, which attempted multiple transgressions in 2020. But we did not budge. I think we stayed absolutely firm on our stance, resulting ultimately in some sort of understanding and agreement with China that has slowly led to some sort of rapprochement. In the case of Pakistan, I think it has to be made clear that a resort to terrorism for whatever justifications or whatever reasoning on their side. I think part of that is also, they do not like what they see in Jammu and Kashmir, the mainstreaming of Jammu and Kashmir into the Indian mainstream, the sort of, fact that people of Jammu and Kashmir have become stakeholders for peace and stability in that state. They understand that there is a huge dividend of peace that is forthcoming. And from that perspective, I think it upsets all of Pakistan's plans to see that the initiative taken by Prime Minister Modi to abrogate Article 370 is succeeding beyond measure. And I think this is what has led them to initiate such, I would say, very unusual steps in today's world, but it doesn't come without a price. And that's what I think Prime Minister Modi is saying. That's what the country wants. And I think that's what will happen.
Ambassador Shringla, last couple of questions to you. What does Prime Minister Modi's call for zero tolerance policy towards terrorism mean for India's relations with countries that have been accused of harboring or supporting terrorist groups? And how do you think India will be able to work on this building of some kind of international consensus around its approach? There are concerns particularly with what the decision has been and which has got a lot of reactions coming from Pakistan, that India has put the Indus Water Treaty on hold.
No, I think, our approach has been very, very effective. As you've said, countries across the world have rallied around us at this time when we are the victims of terrorism. At the same time, I think we have done some very quick diplomatic briefings of foreign envoys and countries at their capitals also, and explain to them, what our policy is all about and what the steps we've taken and what the provocations were that led to these steps. So that rationale has been outlined. I think the issue is that countries understand that when you are attacked, you have the right to defend yourself. President Trump, I think very, very aptly said that in 2019 when we had the Pulwama attacks. This time he has said that I stand by Prime Minister Modi and the people of India. The similar statements, as you said, have come from President Putin, from President Macron, from across the board. And even countries like Turkey and Iran have come across and said that they condemn the terrorist attacks in Jammu and Kashmir. And I think that shows the level of outreach and the level of solidarity we have achieved in terms of our global outreach. And we have to continue to do that to ensure that Pakistan is isolated and that we take the diplomatic steps necessary to keep our partners and friends with us in this time.
Okay, Ambassador Shringla, my last question to you. Pakistan has invoked, treaties, dispute resolution provisions 3 times, and not always in good faith. When the Indus Water Treaty was conceived, it was to ensure mutual benefit through peace. And on multiple occasions, Pakistan has gone back on it. Do you think India, when it says that right now it has exercised its sovereign right to protect national interest and hence it has decided to suspend the Indus Water Treaty, it will also be legally, it can defend it legally as well?
Well, the Indus Water Treaty has served its purpose for a certain period of time. But we've seen in recent years that Pakistan has resorted increasingly to obfuscation and I would say, legal steps that are essentially impeding the functioning of the treaty. So from that point of view, the treaty has not been functioning the way it should have. And what we have said is that we would hold this treaty in abeyance until such time that Pakistan abjures its policy of supporting terrorism and radicalism. So from that perspective, I think we have made it clear that we are not abrogating the treaty, we are holding it in abeyance. And that, I believe that under international law, every state has the right to take the steps that it feels necessary under certain conditions. As they say, it takes 2 hands to clap, and you need both partners working on a certain agreement to keep it alive. In this case, clearly, Pakistan has been, constantly, I would say, impeding the smooth functioning of the treaty. So keeping it in abeyance, I think, is not in any way really taking steps that are untoward. In any case, I think in actual practical terms, the treaty was not working very well.
Ambassador Harshvardhan Shringla, really appreciate your time here on this edition of The Last Word.